In 1880, George Bailey wrote a report for the Derbyshire Archaeological Society which included the following reference: "The fine half-timbered house in the occupation of Mr. Gadsby, hidden behind his house in Tennant Street, is very interesting because it has been but very little altered. We were told that the date of this house had been seen by several persons on the leads, but after making a careful search no such date could be found, and after making inquiries from the owner of the property, T.W. Evans, Esquire, of Allistry, and of others who were thought likely to know something about it, we have had to give up all idea of arriving at the correct date." However, this does not stop George Bailey from placing a date on the house. He refers to an engraving of a house formerly standing at Leicester called King Richard's House, and concludes the following: "In comparing this drawing with the one we have made of the house in Tennant Street, there can be little doubt that the dates are very nearly, if not identical, so that the probable date is 1483, and especially so as the styles correspond with what is called perpendicular or Plantagenet. See the embattle-laden spouts over the oriel windows. The celebrated Dr. Darwin once lived in this house, but who were the original owners we have been unable to ascertain." To find out more about this old house, I turned to Derby's historians, Hutton, Glover and Simpson. To my surprise, they never mentioned the building, not once anywhere in their documents. It was time to turn to the maps. Unfortunately, Speed 1610 map doesn't show us very much. The next map in the sequence is Burdett's 18th century map. It shows a building on the site, but it's too short. It doesn't extend far enough. The 1819 map again shows a building that's too short, although this time some buildings have been added to the north. By the time we reach 1849, we're back to a similar configuration to that shown on Burdett's map. At last, in 1852, we have a building that is the correct dimensions. What is interesting is that the cartographer has added a line across the building showing that it's an extension. To find graphical evidence of Tennant Street, I turn to my black and white copy of the 1728 East Prospect of Derby by S&N Book. Where the Mayor's Parlour should be, there stood a completely different building. If the Mayor's Parlour existed at this date, it had to be visible from the East Bank. On the excellent colour version from the UK Government Art Collection, we can see on the left a factory. This was to become the site of the shot tower. The Markeaton Brook ran in front of this factory, so anything to the right of it stood on Tennant Street. The tall white house, with the two upper windows and the one lower window, is the first house on Tennant Street and is fronting Tennant Street. The only house to stand back from Tennant Street is this one. This is where the Mayor's Parlour should be. So what's going off? The answer lies in this very distinctive lintel under one of the windows, and we shall see this again on a later photograph. Hutton's second edition of the History of Derby was published in 1817, and it bears an east prospect also carrying that date. Derby Museum and Art Gallery has an original of this picture. This is a section of that picture, and it is similar to that one shown on S&N Book's East Prospect of Derby. Again, we have the building with the two windows, but this time you can see that another building is built behind it and now fronts Tennant Street. To see how all this information fits together, we can turn to Derek Palmer's picture of the demolition of the Mayor's Parlour in 1948. The Mayor's Parlour building is almost completely demolished. The demolition reveals the old building that we saw on the pictures, including the lintel below the window that we could see so clearly on Book's East Prospect. The old Mayor's Parlour was not an Elizabethan building. It was a very good example of Tudor revival architecture from the mid-19th century.